France went into last night's semifinal having scored 16 goals in 6 games, and Spain held them to 0. Mbappé, Olise, Dembélé, Doué, the whole attacking lineup, managed just 0.3 expected goals from 10 shots. Think about that for a second. The most feared attack at this World Cup, and Spain made them look like they were playing in a car park. Mikel Oyarzabal and Pedro Porro gave Spain a 2-0 win over France in the World Cup semifinal. But the scoreline doesn't tell you the real story. The real story is what happened to France before either of those goals went in. And that's what this video is about. Spain don't beat you with pace. They don't beat you with power. They beat you with the ball by keeping it and keeping it and keeping it until something inside you quietly gives up. Their possession isn't just a tactic. It's a slow, deliberate act of psychological warfare. And by the end of last night, France looked like a team that had been mentally broken long before Deschamps pulled anyone off the bench. I want to walk you through exactly how Spain does this, because there are 3 layers to it, and most people only ever see the first one. The last layer is the one that explains why this team might be the hardest to beat in the history of international football. The first thing Spain does is take away your ability to do anything. And I mean anything. When you can't win the ball, you can't attack, you can't create, you can't even release the tension that builds up inside a game. You're just chasing. And chasing without ever getting a reward is one of the most demoralizing feelings in sport. Your brain starts this slow, quiet shift from we're in a contest to we're being toyed with. Psychologists call it learned helplessness. The effort stops feeling connected to any outcome. So the pressing gets slower, the arms go on hips, and the will to hunt the ball just drains away. On the night, France found nothing but frustration trying to solve Spain's system, and Mbappé, the tournament's golden boot leader, found little room to operate. That's not an accident. That's the plan working exactly as designed. And here's where it gets interesting, because most people think this is about fitness. It's not, or at least it's not only about fitness. The ball never gets tired, but the players chasing it do. Spain make you run without the ball, and running without the ball is far more draining, physically and mentally, than running with it. You sprint to close a passing lane, they play around you, and you have to reset and do it again. And again. Spain controlled the rhythm for most of the opening 45 minutes. They weren't doing anything spectacular. They were just making France work for nothing. As the legs go, the mind goes with them. Concentration phrase. Decisions slow down. The discipline that was holding your shape together starts to crack under the weight of accumulated fatigue. And that's when Spain spring the trap they've been setting the whole time. Once an opponent is frustrated and tired enough, the temptation becomes almost irresistible. A rash lunge, an overcommitment, a player breaking his position just to feel involved in the game again. Spain's patience is bait for your impatience. The moment you dive in to finally win the ball, they slip one pass past you, and the space you just abandoned becomes the goal. After Digne conceded a penalty for a foul on Lamine Yamal, Oyarzabal drove it home for a 1-0 lead in the 22nd minute. Digne didn't make a mistake because he's a bad defender. He made a mistake because Spain had been pulling at France's shape for 22 minutes, and eventually someone snapped. Then Spain capitalized on a French mistake for Pedro Porro to double the lead in the second half. 2 goals, both born from frustration, both born from Spain's patience outlasting France's composure. Now here's the part that almost nobody talks about, and this is the real reason Spain are so hard to beat. The erosion is relentless. Death by 1,000 passes. Spain rarely overwhelm you in a 5-minute burst. They wear you down over 90 minutes, and every sideways patient pass is a tiny psychological blow that whispers, you still can't get it. That drip-drip accumulation is what breaks belief. Spain have conceded just 1 goal in 7 matches at this tournament, and that's not a defensive statistic, that's a psychological one. It tells you that every team they've faced has eventually crumbled under the weight of the same slow suffocation. But it only works, and this is the part people miss, because Spain's players stay completely serene while everyone around them gets anxious. The lively partnership of Dani Olmo and Yamal, whose quick passing repeatedly unsettled France's defense, weren't panicking, weren't hurrying, weren't forcing anything. These are young players with no scar tissue, no fear of the moment, and a collective calm that is genuinely unnerving to play against. While the opponent's mind is boiling over, Spain's mind is perfectly still. And that points to the deepest truth of all. Spain's possession was never really about the ball. It's about controlling your emotional state. They dictate not just where the ball goes, but how you feel. Frustrated, then tired, then desperate, then quietly resigned. Mbappe was booked for a cynical foul as frustration grew late in the match. That's the suffocation completing its work. The best player at this World Cup reduced to a frustrated lunge in the 85th minute. By the time Spain finally strike, you've already lost the psychological game long before the scoreboard confirms it. Just like they did in 2010, Spain are in the World Cup final, and they'll face either England or Argentina in the showpiece. Whoever comes out of that other semifinal is going to have to solve a problem that France, with all their firepower, couldn't. Beating Spain doesn't just take fitness or talent, it takes the rarest thing in football, the composure to keep your own mind calm while you're being slowly, patiently strangled. If you want to see how the Spain side compares to the great teams of history, the 2010 squad, the Cruyff era, the total football sides that rewrote the game, I've got a video on that. It's worth your time. And if you think there's a team left in this tournament that can actually break Spain's system, drop it in the comments, because I genuinely want to know who you're backing and why. Subscribe if you're not already, because the final is coming and we are going to break it down the same way.